So we're going to be looking at James, and I just want to introduce James a little bit to you. James is a getting it done sort of a book. He doesn't beat about the bush, does our James. It's practical wisdom which spans the test of time. So if you want to know how to live a life for Jesus, despite what the world throws at you, then this is your book. And this is the reason why you should come back next week. Because this book gives you practical wisdom on how to live your faith out, even in a modern world. So fun fact, can anybody tell me what James's name actually is? James, no. His name was actually Jacob. Fascinating. But to avoid confusion, I'm going to keep calling him James. So I learned a few things about the book of James. It's actually one of the most celebrated and most criticized books of the New Testament. And that's because he created a little bit of controversy over the years with this book. And the early church actually questioned its inclusion in the New Testament. And that, generally speaking, was because of the lack of reference to Jesus or Christ compared to other New Testament books. So Jesus or Christ is only actually mentioned twice in the book. The first time's in his intro. And so people worried about how Christ-centric this book is. Secondly, James was criticized for not writing like Paul. He's not got that linear style of writing like Paul. He's short, sharp, changes about a little bit. And then thirdly, he actually contradicts Paul at one point. Paul teaches that we're justified by faith, and James says, yeah, but we're not justified by faith alone, we're justified by works. And so there was a bit of controversy about this. But despite all of these concerns, James remains one of the most cherished books in the New Testament. He's punchy, he's direct, he shoots from the hip. He doesn't get bogged down in detail and description. He doesn't leave you wondering about the areas of grey. He's very practical. He addresses everyday issues, how we speak, how we think, how we talk about money, sickness, suffering. He is wonderfully down to earth. Everyday issues. And James writes with pictures and illustrations. We've got blazing forests and mighty ships, wild flowers. And this, we find, might remind us of the way that someone else spoke. His half-brother, Jesus. So despite not always being a follower of Jesus, it was after his death and resurrection that Jesus appeared to James. And it was not long after this that James became one of the leading Christians in the early church. So despite Jesus' name not actually being mentioned very much, this book is drenched in the words and wisdom of James's older brother, Jesus. And James is just as passionate as Paul about faith and righteousness. He shows us real, genuine faith and what that looks like in real life. This book will challenge us how real faith works hard and lives distinctively. It challenges us to follow Jesus wholeheartedly, radically, and passionately. So I'm going to look at the first half of chapter 1, but chapter 1 throughout James is kind of like a summary, so you might find some repetition as the series goes on because chapter 1 addresses some of what he's going to talk about and then it's brought up again later, so do expect some repetition throughout the course of the book. Okay, if we have our passage up in James 1 to 18, I'm reading from NIV. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes scattered among the nations. Greetings. Consider it pure joy, my brother and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. But if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave tossed by the sea, blown and tossed about by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. Believers in humble circumstances ought to take pride in their high position, but the rich should take pride in their humiliation, since they will pass away like a wildflower. For the sun rises with scorching heat and withers the plant. Its blossom falls, and beauty is destroyed. In the same way, the rich will fade away even while they go about their business. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test of time, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. When tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. Do not be deceived, my brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all he created. Whew, okay. So verse 1 is James introducing himself. We're going to break down the passage and go through it. So verse 1 is James introducing himself, a servant of God, Jesus Christ, to the 12 scattered tribes among the nations. So he's saying, hi, I'm James, I'm a servant of God. Being a half-brother of Jesus doesn't give him immediate authority, but being a follower and a disciple did. And the scattered 12 tribes, these are the followers of Jesus who were no longer in Israel. Okay, so the next chunk we're going to look at is quite big. It's 2 to 12. And if we just have that up on the screen, I'm not going to read it all in one go. I'm just going to break it up as we go. So verse 2 says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. That's where we're going this morning. We're going to trials. So trials, the Greek word is pyrasmos, which means pressures. So this one word, pyrasmos, means pressures. And it's the same word for trials and temptations. Throughout this section, it's the same word that's used when he talks about trials and when he talks about temptations. Now, in this part, he's meaning trials which are external pressures. Temptations are internal pressures. Trials, it's not if, but when. They can happen to anyone. And we do tend to find that trials happen to Christians more so because we are aliens in this world. We are called to be set apart. So it can be more challenging for us. Temptations are internal. They're habits from our old life, from the old man, old ways of thinking, feeling, behaving. And we are all tempted as well, but we're tempted differently. We all have different weaknesses and temptations. None of us are without. I was talking to somebody recently and I'm talking about struggles, and I said, well, everybody struggles. It's just different struggles. Don't look around and think, oh, well, they're perfect. They never struggle. Not true. Everybody has external trials and everybody has internal temptations. So James addresses temptations later in the passage, and this bit here is all about trials. So I can say with confidence that everybody in this room has had a trial of some form. If you've not, come and chat to me later and you can lay hands on me. We know that they're hard. We know that they obscure reality. We know that they're all-consuming. We know that they're draining and exhausting. And we know that we might even lose ourselves a little bit when we're in the middle of them. And then James says, consider it pure joys when you face trials of many, many kinds. It's like, are you joking? Are you joking? I'm supposed to be like considering this joy. The strong Christian who stands the test of time is crowned. It's like some superhero, isn't it? Emerging from the dust after a long and weary battle, and they stand, no sweat on them, no hair out of place, smiling widely. It's kind of the image that this conjures up. Like Christians, we come out and we're like, what trial? But it's not true, is it? It's not true. Being able to withstand trials is not some form of superpower only for the elite Christians that you look at and you think, oh, well, that was no sweat on them. James tells us to consider it pure joy. This doesn't look like fake smiles, grinning and bear it, pretending it's not painful. What he's saying here is to change the way you think about trials. Not to fake it till you make it, not to pretend like it's all okay. I don't believe in pretending it's all okay. I don't believe in pretense. I believe in authentic Christian living where we're real with one another. And I'm actually really struggling. And he's not telling us to be fake. He's telling us to change the way we think about trials. Trials test us. They expose us. They refine us. They're not fun, especially whenever your flaws are exposed. You think it's bad enough that you're going through a trial and then you realize this major character flaw that you have. Not a fun moment, and I've been there. But they also mature us. They strengthen us. They make us wiser. James says, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. Trials are hard, yes. There's no doubting that. But they lead to something far more powerful, and that's maturity. Trials, I think, are the equivalent of a grow bag. They're dark and they're full of rotten things, but they grow beautiful, fruitful things. You can take the moments of trials that are difficult and grow something beautiful out of them. So James is telling us that the outcome of trials should be celebrated, not the trial itself. You're not going to celebrate when you're a trial, but the outcome of a trial should be celebrated because of what they grow, because of what the trials grow, of how they develop us, of how they mature us. It reminds you a little bit, doesn't it, of Romans 5, 3-4. We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Some of my hardest trials have given me the strength that I have today, and I simply would not be the person that I am without them. Would I choose them? Absolutely not. If I'm looking through and I get to choose, the paths of my life, I would definitely avoid the difficult paths. But as I reflect, I see myself as more steadfast, as more grounded, as more faithful. I'm far more compassionate to other people's brokenness because I've seen the depths of my own brokenness. And I'm more understanding to people because of the trials that I've been in. So we're not supposed to pretend that they don't hurt. We're not supposed to say, yay, trials, pain and suffering. But we are told to see beyond them. We are being told to see them for what they give us, for how they grow us, for how they mature us. Like a muscle, it needs something to push against in order to grow. If you've ever wanted to weight train or strengthen yourself, you've had to do it with weights. You've had to push the muscle until it hurts in order for it to grow. Like a diamond being formed, it's formed under pressure in the earth. That's how the diamond is formed. Like a pearl, it's formed through irritation. There's a parasite that tries to make its way into the oyster, and its way of protecting itself is to create this irritation that then creates a pearl. I remember in our early marriage, Neil was really annoying me, and I told him to turn around. I know he thinks it's not true, but he was really annoying me. Stop being such an irritation. He said, well, that's how pearls are formed. I'm helping you to become a pearl. It didn't go down well, you can imagine. But without these pressures and irritations, precious things wouldn't be made. We enjoy these beautiful things on the earth. It's like what we were saying this morning. Beautiful things are made out of hard moments. Do I believe that God sends you trials on purpose? Personally, no, I don't. Now, there might be different beliefs in this room, but I don't believe that God sends you trials. I don't believe that God sends you sickness, and I don't believe God sends you difficulty. Trials are external and they're part of a world that is broken and it's full of pain. But I do believe that God will grow us through these difficult things. I do believe that God uses everything in your life to grow you, to strengthen you, to mature you, to make you more Christ-like. I personally don't believe that God sends sickness and things that will break us, but I do believe that he uses them for his glory, to mature us and develop us so that we have a faith which is complete. So the next section says, if you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously without fault. Because if you doubt, you're like a wave in the sea being tossed about, and you shouldn't expect to receive anything from the Lord. So first, James is calling us to be a people of perseverance, a people to persevere through the trials and storms of life. And now James is telling us, be a people of perception. Do you like that? Double P. Wisdom to know what is going on, what to do, how to be. And if you want wisdom, ask for it. Suffering, trials, these moments, they're so overwhelming, aren't they? They're so all-consuming, they're confusing, and they can be easy to lose ourselves in these moments. And James is reminding us, ask for wisdom. Remind yourself who God is, that he gives generously to you without finding fault. He won't turn you away. He won't say, I'm not going to give you wisdom, because he knows that wisdom to navigate trials is part of what helps us grow. Doubt, I was reading in one of the commentaries, and they described being double-minded as somebody who's trying to get into a boat with one foot, but not confident enough in their ability to get in the boat, and they have their foot on the shore. And what happens is they end up doing the splits, and you can only stay in that place for so long before you're going to fall flat in the water. And that's what being double-minded and having doubt is like. It's like trying to have a foot in two camps, always having a backup plan, because you're not quite confident enough in one. I kind of want to get into that boat, but I don't feel confident enough, and so I'm going to keep my foot on land, and all that happens is you fall flat. So what James is saying is, be all in. Put all your weight onto that. Put all your weight into him, and ask and do not doubt, fully believing that he will give you what you have asked for. Now, does this mean that you'll feel differently? No. Doesn't mean that all of a sudden a cloak appears on your shoulders or you sprout a beard of wisdom. No, it doesn't. But it doesn't affect our faith in him to believe that he will give us the wisdom that we've asked for. Now, wisdom comes in different forms. It comes from the people around us, not always from within. And I'm going to touch on that slightly later. And then he goes on in verse 9, believers in humble circumstances, take pride in your high position. The rich should take pride in their humiliation, since they'll pass away like a wild flower. The sun rises and the scorching heat withers the plant, its blossoms fall, and beauty is destroyed. In the same way, the rich will fade even while they go about their business. Gotta love the upside down of the kingdom, don't you? The last will be first, the rich will be, humiliated. I don't personally believe that wealth is a bad thing. And I'll come on to that in a second, because I believe that the crux of what James is saying here, it's about where your reliance stands. What are you relying on? Who are you relying on? It is so much easier for a rich person to meet all of their own needs and not need God to meet their needs. They can pay for a fine education, they can pay for medication, they can pay for whatever they need. If they're hungry, they can buy their food. If they need clothes, they can buy their clothes. Whatever they need, they have this buffer in life where they can be self-reliant. whereas the poor person has a much bigger reliance on God for their needs to be met. The poor person is also more likely to undergo greater trials because of their need. Money can buy help, and poverty can't. Wealth can provide a self-comfort, whereas poverty, your comfort is in God. Money creates a buffer, but the wealth fades and it can't go with us. But the poor develop character through their perseverance of relying on God. So what are we building? Wealth which will fade, or full maturity? Now, like I said, I don't actually believe that money is a problem. I believe that it's our attitude to money. If money is meeting all of your needs and stopping you from relying on God, I do think that that is a problem. Because I think that we grow whenever we have need. And we grow, and that is what James is asking us, to grow into full maturity. And then to finish the section, James says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test of time, the person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised." And this is why James tells us to rejoice in our sufferings, because this is our reward for perseverance, the crown of life. So the first half is about external trials, second half about temptations. When tempted, no one should say, "God is tempting me," for they cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they're dragged down by their own evil desires and enticed. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when fully grown, gives birth to death. Don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. Chose to give birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all he created. So this is the same word, peirasmos, and it's this time referring to inner trials, which are temptations. Now, temptations play on our weaknesses and they pull you down. They put you down. But God does not tempt you. He doesn't dangle something in front of you just to see how you react. He might lead us into temptation, like Jesus was led into the wilderness, but he will not tempt you, and there is a difference. Temptation starts with something that you want. A bit like fishing. Not that I fish much, but when you put your fishing rod out, you have the bait that the type of fish wants to eat. I don't know, maybe trout like fly. You might put a fly on your line to attract a trout. And once the trout takes it, then you've caught the trout. So temptation starts with something that you want. And then once you take that bait, the temptation begins to set in. And that's how it grows. It's the conception of sin in that moment when you have taken the bait. It's then birthed, and James says, and when it's birthed, it brings death. So take, for example, big topics here, but like murder and adultery, they start in the mind. You don't just wake up one day and go out and murder someone. That's not what happens. It starts in the mind. It starts with fantasizing about thoughts, and that's the bait. It's the fantasizing about thoughts and creating moments in your head that then become action. They become behavioral, that then leads to sin. Colossians 3:2 says, "Set your minds on things above, not on heavenly things." And then later on it goes on to list the sins that we should cleanse ourselves of: malice, anger, lust. Because the truth is, if I'm careful about what I think about, I don't need to be so careful about what I say or how I behave. Because all these things start in our mind. Our mind creates the bait for how we behave, for what grows from us. So if my mind is pure, if I am focused on things above and not fantasizing about sin, my mind will be pure, my words will be pure, my behavior will be pure. It's why it's so important that we protect our minds. I say to our kids, well, why can't I watch that film? And I say, well, because once it's gone in, it's hard for it to come out. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. And once it's in there, it can grow and develop seed. It's why it's so important about what we watch. It's so important about what we listen to, what we read, so that we keep our minds pure, so that we keep them focused on things above. So much easier to not have to battle with it, isn't it? So let's not watch something that we're then going to have to battle with. Just don't watch it in the first place. There you go. Saved yourself a battle. Pick carefully what you watch. Sometimes Neil and I will start a program, and definitely the storyline's got you hooked, but we're like, this is just too off. We're not going to watch this. It's not appropriate. No matter how good that storyline is, there comes a point where you've got to self-advocate and say, this isn't going to be good for me. So be careful what you allow in. What do you allow into your mind? You might think it's innocent, but these things are the bait that our thoughts feed on that give birth to sin. Heavy-hitting topics for a Sunday morning, I know, but it's good practical wisdom and advice. We've all got temptations. We're all broken. So if you know your temptation is lust, you know your temptation is envy, just be very careful. Save yourself a battle. Just be very careful about what you let in so it doesn't grow into sin. Prevention's better than cure, isn't it? And finally, don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be like a kind of first fruits of all he created. God is sovereign. He is the Father of heavenly lights. He created and reigns over every corner of the universe. Yet, he takes interest in us. He loves us. He knows us. He wants to give us good gifts. He's the guy that's saying, I created all of this. I'm in every moment of it. And if you want wisdom, come and ask. It's all yours. Come and ask, because he's sovereign. God is dependable. He doesn't change his position. He doesn't go through phases. He's not in eras. It's not like a I love you era. That's not him. He's dependable. He's always loves you, always believes in you, always wants good things for you, always wants you to grow. Doesn't mean that things won't be hard, but you've got a champion in your corner rooting for you. Said, I'm going to give you everything that you need to get through this moment. And he's gracious. He's the one who gives us new birth. Thank goodness it's not by our earnings, right? Maybe I'm alone, but thank goodness it's not by what I can achieve, but it's by his sovereignty and his grace. So James, pretty hard-hitting, pretty practical. I don't feel like I need to go into a huge amount of depth on how we apply this, because that's the beauty of James, is that he's told you as we go through it. Change the way you think. Difficult times come. How are you going to think about it? How are you going to see God in that moment? Ask for wisdom. God, I am so confused right now. Give me wisdom to overcome this. Don't rely on the things around you, but rely on God. Don't put your comfort in material things, but put your comfort in God. Rely on God. Be careful what you have around you. Temptation is in all of us. It's an internal thing. So be careful what bait you have in your life that's going to latch onto. Know yourself well. If I struggle with this, don't put that in front of you. I don't have chocolate biscuits in the house for a reason, because Neil eats them all. Be careful what you put around you. If you know of your temptation, don't see how strong you are against sin. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Turn the program off, put the book down, change the friendship circle. If they're not there to grow you, they're going to weaken you. Be careful, be strong, and know that God is always with you. But there was one thing that stuck in my mind as I was preparing this. And one of our greatest strengths in trials and difficulty is community. It's the people around you. God has given us community to be there for one another, to support us as we grow. You know, the tomato plant that's growing out of that grow bag needs supports to help the fruit hang off it. It needs support. We all go through stuff, like I said earlier. We all go through stuff. It's just different stuff. The more I reach into my humanity, the more grace and compassion and empathy I have for other people's humanity, because we're all broken. So community done right allows for accountability. It allows for transparency. It allows for feedback. It allows for growth. It allows for support. It allows for honesty. I am feeling really broken in this area. I am feeling tempted beyond what I can handle. Can you help me? This is an area of weakness in my life that I'm struggling with. Will you cover me? Will you pray for me? I don't know what wisdom looks like. Can you help me? Community starts with, it's vulnerable, isn't it? True community is actually quite vulnerable. I'd love to say that true community is all about cake, and that's a plus side of it. But true community is actually about knowing one another in a real way that says, I see you, and I love you, and I accept you, and I value you, no matter your brokenness, but I'm not going to let you stay in that. I'm going to pray for wisdom with you to walk you out of that, because the trial isn't the end goal, the maturity is. I don't know about you, but I can't do that alone. If you can do that alone, all power to you. I can't. And I don't believe that God made us to do it alone. He made for us to be in community. And I know how hard it is to open up and tell someone your shortcomings, your sin, your failings. I know that's hard. I've been there. I'll be honest, I've done that. I've called people and said, I'm broken. This is where I'm at. Will you cover me? Will you love me in that moment? And they did. But that's what true community is. It's a covering for one another as we grow. So will you do community? Will you find someone who you connect with, who you trust, and let them into those vulnerable places. Let them in to the trials so that they can help you grow into maturity and not get stuck in the trial. It can be easy to get stuck in the trial. Don't be stuck in it. Let someone walk with you through it and out of it. Let them give you wisdom. And let them remind you of God's faithfulness and his nature. When people speak over you, speak truth over you in those trials and those moments that are really hard. Joe, God created you to be more than this. This is who I see you as. This is what God's saying over you. And that's what community is. So when we pray as the band come up, and why don't you just take a moment just to think practically as well, how am I going to respond to this? There is something in this passage for everyone because we're all tempted and we all go through trials. Maybe you need to let someone in. Maybe you need to trust people with your brokenness and let them speak God's wisdom and truth over you. Maybe God just wants you to see that actually there's a purpose. There's so much more. There's a bigger picture than what you're currently going through right now. So Father, I thank you that you want us to be mature, whole, complete Christians. And we don't celebrate in the trial, we don't celebrate in the temptation, but we do celebrate in what you grow in us, how you mature us, how you are championing us, how you are giving us everything that we need to walk through these difficult moments that life throws at us. God, I pray that you would help us to lean into one another's support and acceptance and love and grace as we grow and as we go through difficult moments. God, we thank you that you are dependable. We thank you that you are reliable, and I thank you that you are sovereign. So why don't you just take a moment just as the band get ready just to reflect, and what's your takeaway?